Joe Christian goes to the movies, gets his ticket, buys a large soda and popcorn, and then proceeds into the theater. He sits through the feature, gaping at the cool special effects, trying to forget the sex scenes and ignore the cussing. He doesn't even flinch when the main character takes law and justice into his own hands and breaks nearly every rule in the process. Or where there are big long fights and tons of people get killed for almost no reason, which would be counted as murder. Or when no one's actions have any consequences, because in the movies world, there is no God. Long before Joe wants them to, the credits start to roll, and he thinks to himself, that was a good movie. It talked about helping others and was just so touching. Now you may be thinking, wait a second, after your description of the film, that doesn't sound like it would be a great movie to watch. The thing is, I just described Iron Man, a very popular film series in which Tony Stark's, our superhero, breaks about half of the 10 Commandments in each film with no consequences. And according to the Internet Movies database, we have spent about $2.5 billion in theaters alone for that to be shown as fine. How has film gotten so depraved and immoral today? For the next 8 to 9 minutes, I would like to talk to you judges about the dangers of film. I hope to persuade you to not just watch movies. Film is a huge battleground between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of Satan. So please do not turn your minds off when you sit down to watch the movie. Actively engage your minds to think all the way through the film to discern what is good and what is bad in it. In this speech, we'll first look at the problems in today's films, and then we'll look at what we can do about them. So to get started, first Peter 5:8 states, quote, "Be of sober spirit, be on the alert, for your adversary the devil prowls about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." Satan uses whatever means he can to devour us. So how does he use film to devour us? Satan uses film to teach us to become comfortable with and to expect as normal, blatantly unbiblical ideas. How? He uses specific groups which align themselves to him and his thinking, who then influence film and thus our thinking. One of these groups, which I personally find fascinating, is communism. Karl Marx wrote in the Communist Manifesto, quote, "Communism abolishes eternal truths. It abolishes all religion and all morality, instead of constituting them on a new basis." This is what Karl Marx, the father of communism, said the purpose of communism is: to destroy all morals and all religion. And that's just what most films do nowadays, don't they? Create a world where there are no absolute morals and no God. Just what Satan wants. Leon Trotsky, another communist leader, said about film, quote, "The cinema competes with the church, and this rivalry may become fatal for the church. The cinema liberates you from the need of crossing the church door. And here is an instrument which we must secure at all costs," end quote. Now, why is Satan really all concerned about film in particular? Well, with a film, you have the audience trapped, practically trapped for about 2 hours, in which time you can tell and show them anything you want, and they can do nothing to stop you. All they can do is walk out, which almost no one does. Now, is the content of film really that powerful or bad? Psychologist Dave Grossman stated in an interview on his book On Killing, quote, "We have children who sit in the movie theaters, and they watch vivid depictions of human suffering. And what do they associate it with? Their favorite candy bar, their favorite soft drink, their arm around their girlfriend. We have learned to associate human tragedy, death, horror, vividly depicted, with our own pleasure," end quote. Besides unbiblical violence, films erode other biblical values like marital fidelity, holy speech, temperance, and respect for fathers and elderly. Even many children's films help undermine these ideas. In Disney's Cinderella, for instance, the king and his advisor are shown as dopey buffoons instead of honorable wise men. This violates Ephesians 6:1 and 2 and the 5th commandment, to honor and obey your parents, but is shown as funny. Now, is there still hope today? Yes, there is. However, this hope requires action on our part. I can see two possible options. The first option is never to watch a single movie again, and to publicly advocate against film. Seeing how most films are today, I do respect anyone who takes this option. However, I think there are plenty of blatantly biblical films which are well worth watching. And the second option is to use film as not just entertainment, but as tools for spiritual training, and thus engage film as an intellectual warrior. As soldiers in this fight, we have a sword and shield at our disposal. So first, use your shield. For example, you may hear about a film, say Indiana Jones, that you think would be good to use as a film, as a tool for teaching. Before you watch it, you should first go onto a film review website and see exactly what is in it and what it is trying to communicate. If you did, you would see that Indiana Jones, the main character, breaks almost all of the 10 Commandments in each film with impunity. How would that factor into whether to use it as a tool? By the way, I would recommend PluggedIn.com as a great film review website. Now, while film reviews can help shield us from harmful movies, we also have to use our sword to engage with the films we do watch. Immediately after we watch a film, we should actively engage and attack. Was that movie really good? Think to yourself, does it call good what God calls evil? Or evil what God calls good? Now you may be thinking, well, we don't watch those types of movies. We only watch nice, clean, family-friendly films. Well, let's look at Tangled, a very popular family-friendly film. For starters, in Tangled, there is no God. That is equivalent to breaking the first commandment. Rapunzel, the main character, has naturally magical powers. So we are rooting for what the Bible calls a witch, which it condemns in Exodus 22:18, Deuteronomy 18:9 through 14, and Revelation 21:8. The second most main character, Flynn, is the nation's most wanted criminal, but nothing really bad happens to him, justice-wise. Because remember, there is no God. And he also marries the princess at the end, even though he is the criminal. The whole group of thug outlaws are portrayed as nice, kind-hearted, loyal, misunderstood people. And the nation's general, who is responsible for upholding law, justice, and order, is a main bad guy. And his personal horse even realizes that the law breakers are better than the law enforcers. For that matter, the entire group of law and justice and order supporting soldiers are evil. Rapunzel breaks nearly every rule that her mother gives her and is much better for doing it. For all she knew, she was breaking the 5th commandment, and that was shown as perfectly fine. When Mother Gothel sings her Mother Knows Best song, it is portrayed as pure lies in the movie. However, if you listen to it objectively, everything she says is 100% absolutely true. Lastly, Tangled shows that it is perfectly fine for young girls to go running off with some criminal who just showed up at their house. This is all being taught in a perfect, clean, family-friendly film. How does all this factor into whether it can be used as a tool? Now, unfortunately, you still need your swords out when you're watching many Christian films, as many are still have unbiblical ideas in them. In The Ultimate Gift, the entire theology is humanistic. It's reach deep inside yourself, pull yourself up, and go help others. The only problem is, as comedian Ken Davis states, if you try to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you get just one thing: broken bootstraps. Now, you may be able to easily sort out this was right, this was wrong in a movie, but perhaps you have friends or family who can't do that. You can help them learn to wield their sword to sort out the good ideas from the bad. Immediately after our family finishes watching a movie, my dad starts asking us questions about it, like what was portrayed as good in the film? What was portrayed as bad? Why was that portrayed as good or bad? What does the Bible say about these ideas and behaviors? This helps us kids learn to see and combat these satanic ideas before we even enter the real world. Now, I hope I have convinced you that film is a huge battlefield in this war between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of Satan, and that we cannot watch films with our minds turned off. One last question before I finish, though. Now that you've heard all this, what are you going to do about this? Will you take up your sword and shield and engage in this spiritual war? Or will you let them alone to rust on their rack? and thus be utterly defenseless when the devil comes about prowling to devour us. Thank you.